flirting with you. Can't keep.
So if you want to just start off and tell us a little bit about what inspired you to start pursuing music.
Sure. I never didn't want to pursue music. I definitely had just always been musical. I come from a musical family, so my sister and my dad are also musicians, and then my dad's whole side of the family, he comes from a family of musicians. In fact, his mom, so my grandma, was teaching piano and vocal lessons up until she was like 95. So it was like always in the fam. So they put me in like piano lessons growing up and choir. And at the time I would be very reluctant. Like I wasn't as interested in it. I was always interested in singing, but maybe not being classically trained.
Yeah.
But yeah, I ended up being so grateful that they did that. And I guess I always just saw music as like an outlet and started writing music when I was like probably around 10. And it was just a way for me to express myself. And if I was like going through anything in my life, it was such a great outlet for like things that I was going through. So that's really like how it started. And then my friends actually just sat me down and were like, you should be pursuing this. Like, why are you not sharing this with people? And I was sharing it, I was putting it on like SoundCloud and stuff. I wasn't like considering myself like an artist. And it was a very easy transition to start seeing myself as an artist just through my own eyes. And I just started working on a project like 3-4 years ago, and that was Panic, my EP.
So if you could summarize Panic in maybe like a sentence or something, what would you say like the message or what it is about?
It is about self-development through spirituality. So I say this little like tagline for it where I'm in a creative panic, because the word panic is inherently negative, a very negative word. And it was inspired by me experiencing panic attacks. I actually was on an airplane, and for no good reason, I just started having a panic attack. And this was like me coming back from visiting my manager in like 2017 or so. And I had been kind of wanting this project to be an acronym. So to like spell out the song names on it. Yeah. And tell this like very cohesive story. And I thought of Panic that happened to me. And I was like, wow, that actually already fits 3 of the titles that are already on it. I wanted it to be 5 songs. I had a song called Pretty Girls. I had a song called Ashed Out, and I had a song called Ceilings. And that was the last one. So it was like, it just kind of fit. And I was like, what if I take this word with such a negative connotation and then just spin it and make it like a positive thing where it's like, it's a creative panic. Like I can't help but get these ideas out of me. And that's kind of where the title came from.
Yeah, I hadn't noticed until you just said how the acronym works with the track listing, because I was going to ask you about the track listing, like was there any particular reason, because it all really flows really nicely, like from one track into the other, apart from it being the acronym. Was there any other reason why you put them in that order?
Yes, it's definitely a storytelling order. So if I were to get into like the content of what the songs are about lyrically, the first song is like Ego, like which, speaking about spirituality, like ego is your human form, and then your spirituality would be like the real you that is oneness. And so I wanted Pretty Girls. Like I think I was going through a breakup, and I was just like, I just remember feeling so like badass and being like, pretty girls don't sit at home, like I'll go move on. That was kind of like my feeling at the time. And because of that, like all the lyrics just flowed out, and that song was just very much about like, I don't need anyone, I don't need a man, I don't need like, and it's fake, it's like a fake sense of confidence. Where later in the actual project you do find that like, oh, I have insecurities, I have, you know, perceived failures in love, and I'm human, and whatever, I'm going through this experience with my ego and being a human and falling in and out of love, and finding like true inner peace.
The next track in the listing, so Ashed Out, this one is my favorite at the moment. I think as I was like going through all of them, I'm like, they've all been my favorite at different times, but at the moment it's Ashed Out. So can you tell me a little bit more about how you came up with it?
Yeah, that one, same breakup, same time period in my life. I started to actually date someone new, and this was like my first like heartbreak. I dated someone for a long time, and he cheated on me, and I was so blindsided, so devastated. And it had happened like actually like years before, because we were kind of like an on and off couple, but I found out in a particular way, like through my friends that had been hanging out with him, and it was just like so devastating to me. And so the idea of that was just like, you ashed me out like a cigarette, like you just didn't care about me, you let me go. And then I wanted this song to have like growth, where, because I wrote it very acoustically. The song itself, my amazing producer Jay James like built it out with me, but originally I had just sat down with an acoustic guitar. Actually, it might have been electric, but it was just like that simple running guitar melody. And then I just wrote this very soft song about like, now I'm gonna be feeling dizzy. It's like kind of through the analogies of like being drunk with a person and then being hungover, and how you just terrible, and I'm gonna wake up being like so dumbfounded that this happened, and like that's kind of what the lyrics are about. And then it grows into like this kind of anger and sadness, and so that's kind of like it's one of the strongest pieces in terms of like just being hurt and being like angry, which is why like the visuals for that song are like, I thought of like a clown and like red and running in the streets and like fire, and just like how you feel when you're like enraged.
Yeah.
So that's the track.
And is that how you normally write a lot of your songs, like starting with just a guitar or something and then building up?
Everything. Like I'm definitely a bedroom pop artist to my core.
Yeah.
Like, that's where it all comes from. I mean, I definitely find that the easiest. More lately and over the years, I can write to like beats, you know, if someone starts to be a producer friend of mine, they can send it over, but like it's always my best when I just started from a simple guitar melody, simple chords, or like sitting at the piano. And I kind of go through phases with it. Like sometimes it'll be like guitar for a year or two, and then piano for a year or two, or whatever.
And then we've got Negotiations. So do you want to tell us a bit about that one?
Yeah, this one is just the ultimate heartbreak, because I guess a lot of this project, it's seemingly about love, and it is about relationships, but it's about the way that relationships reveal yourself to you. So that's why it's a spiritual concept. Yeah, because you do see yourself reflected in all the relationships you're in. And I do believe we attract things that we're supposed to go through, and that we're manifesting all the time. And so yeah, this one was just falling in love with someone where I thought it was too good to be true. And there was some manipulative behaviors and stuff that I wanted to see past so badly and couldn't. And the reason why it's two parts, so it starts as like an acoustic track, and then it falls off into this like slow piano track, is because the first half of it is kind of like when you're still yearning, like so as far as like the concept of the project goes, it was like when you're still attached to your ego, you're still like gripping, and I'm just gripping, like, please, like the lyrics are, don't let me go, don't let me go, don't let me go. And then the second half is letting go, but having a peace with it, where you're like, I just wish that I could do it all again. And it's just kind of like this very bittersweet, like, I can let this go, but I wish that I could experience this all again, like the way that we would feel about just special, very, very special things in life. So that one was kind of like, the dropping off point, the letting go. And I consider making that track a full track. A lot of people really like the second half of Negotiations, and they want to see them separate because they are so different. I may end up doing that, because I may end up doing that, but right now it's that little section. At the time I didn't feel like it needed to be expanded, so that's probably why I just left it with that one verse, one chorus, and just kind of like
now everyone just wants more. Yeah. And do you have a track off the EP that you're the most proud of, or that's your favorite?
Yes. Funny that you mentioned that now, because it's the next song. So I Can't Be the Only One is probably the song that I'm the most proud of, because it is not about a relationship, and it's about my relationship with myself. And I like to think that it's written from like a higher power towards myself. Because even the lyrics are like, I can't keep flirting with you, can't keep flirting with you. it's time to face the music. I'm not God. I'm certainly not Cupid, because I'm acknowledging that I'm giving up trying to play God. But it's really a song written to myself. Like the Flirting With You is about like not flirting with your ego anymore. Like I can't keep flirting with this ego that's telling me that I can, you know, control things that are out of my control. And instead it's like, you'll never lose me. You'll never lose me. You'll never lose your love. You'll never lose your higher power. It's just like a really special personal song. And that's probably why I'm the most proud of it, because I felt like it was just very raw and like flowed out of me. And yeah, and it's positive. I think that's something too. I write a lot of songs that are really like sad, because I see music as an outlet. I see it as a creative outlet. But sometimes I want to write, it's not necessarily that it's like a happy song, but it's more positive for me. So that's a positive one for me, probably my most favorite.
And then, so we finished the EP with Ceilings, the like finale to it all. Tell us about Ceilings.
Ceilings, I probably wrote, I know I wrote this first on the project, but I probably wrote it in like, I think I was trying to figure this out a while ago, like 2014 or something, like a very, very long time ago. And it was another one of those songs that just like flowed out. Like I remember I planned the chords. They were inspired by a Sia song. I love Sia. Yeah, it's the song, if you ever want to like go figure out how the chords relate, it's the song Quit or Quit You. I think it's called Quit by Ariana Grande and Sia. Or Sia wrote it and Ariana Grande sings it. And the chord progression was so beautiful to me that I was like, oh, I'm gonna go like, what are those chords? Like so nice. And I was playing it, and then I just started singing this melody that I felt like was just electric. And yeah, the song is about songwriting too. So it's also a very special song for me, where it's about the flow state and being connected, and how I like the main lyric, I just wanted you to feel something. That's kind of how I feel like music is just like a gift that I give to myself to honestly just spend time like just with myself, and then hopefully for other people that like feel connected. So yeah, that's what that song is about.
And what's the response been like people's opinions on the EP so far?
You know, it's shocking to see what people's favorite songs are. Because you always think like, I was like, I'm sure I can't be the only one. It's gonna be the one or whatever that everyone like loves the most because it's my favorite. And that's not true, but Pretty Girls is the song that I think people were the most enjoying. And I think it's because it has that driving beat behind it, and it has a lot of like power, and especially to see that from like a softer artist like me is cool for people, and they feel connected to it. And it's interesting because like we can fall into the trap of thinking, you know, spiritually that the ego is bad, but that song being written like totally from my ego, me being so overly confident or whatever, people connect to that and they want to feel that way. I mean, how often do we listen to music and we drive in the car, or we're putting on makeup and we're just like, I'm a badass. That's kind of what that song is. But yeah, the response has been great. I think a lot of people, I'm very, very blown away when people like connect to my music so much, because I don't actually know how they're going to interpret it. I can try to guess, and I know what my interpretation is, but it's kind of special to just like put it out and then have it be like a gift that I'm now hands off, and it's just your art, you know?
So who or what would you say have been the biggest influences? You mentioned a lot about the like spirituality and stuff.
Yeah. Do you mean like what artists, or just what?
Like what artists, or I don't know, any like particular like experience that you think has like fed through into the EP?
Yeah, definitely my spirituality, reading and love, and I just feel like I've always been a spiritual person, but I've dipped off during certain times, and like to different like religious like institution, like education systems, not college, but where I didn't feel as connected with that as my own spirituality. And so it kind of like, it scared me. It kind of caused the anxiety a little bit in the first place, because I felt like I was just not connecting the way that other people were. And that's what works for someone doesn't work for someone else necessarily. But I have always been spiritual. And then it just grew so much once I started doing yoga. So I'd say yoga and meditation are like huge in impacting me as a person and my music as well. And I used to think they were so separate. Like I have to choose one or the other. I have to pursue yoga and be a yoga instructor, or like I have to pursue music and be a writer. And there's like, they don't integrate with each other, which I don't think is true at all anymore. I feel like if anything, I fell in love with yoga because of the way that music and the classes was like impacting me while I was stretching or whatever. So definitely yoga, huge spirituality. And then as far as artists go, because I want to make sure to include this, James Blake is like one of my favorite artists of all time. I've been following his music since like day one, album one, and I just think that he's so creative and he paves his own path. And I love Bon Iver. An influence of mine in high school when I was writing a bunch of acoustic music was Ben Howard.
Oh yeah. He's from the UK, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
I've seen him so many times in concert, and I just I love the way. I mean, I was just this guy. The way that he plays guitar is insane. I mean, all of his songs he tunes very. He has very odd tunings for all of his songs, and then he can play his guitar like on his lap, and he like does this thing, slaps it, and I'm just like, what? This is so creative, so amazing. But yeah, he has very emotional music as well, and I just always like really was impacted by that. Actually, the growth of Ashed Out is inspired by his music, because he does that a lot in a lot of my favorite songs. What's
it been like in America at the moment, like as for touring and stuff? Have you been able to play live, or is it still very much like locked down over there?
Not really. Things are finally starting to open up. I mean, I was living in LA, excuse me, and putting my full effort behind this project. I mean, I've always worked other jobs, been doing other things and pursuing music on the side, but I decided to quit my job to fully do it. And it was not good timing. I mean, it was in terms of like writing and inspiration and having time to put out my project, but as far as performing goes, not really. And I have since made the decision to move to San Diego. So I'm actually living in La Jolla right now. And my friends were like, what are you doing? Like, you're supposed to be in LA. What are you doing? And I did this to find more inspiration. I was feeling that LA was a very hard place to be during the lockdown. I'm also from LA, so it's not like an adventurous city for me to go to from somewhere else. It's just, I just am born and raised there. So I'm like, I'm looking to like get inspired and get out. So I'm hoping to start playing some shows down here, even just like casual things, because they're finally opening up. But yeah, I mean, we'll have to check back in on the touring. It's starting to happen again. I hope I can share this project, because the way that it works with artists is like, okay, I'm ready. I'm on to the next, like I'm ready for the next thing. But I would love an opportunity. The music never goes away, so I can always play these songs, but I would love to be able to share them.
I got the listeners to send a couple of questions in for you as well.
Sure.
So I've got one from Chrissy, and she says, what are you doing when you're not making music?
I'm probably meditating.
Yeah.
These days I'm like deep into it. It brings me a lot of peace, and especially with how crazy everything is in the world right now, I think just to have your center of gravity be inside yourself is a point of peace and inspiration for the music as well. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've come up with like downloads or ideas after like sitting down to like calm my mind. Or I'm doing yoga, or I'm chilling with my friends, designing my apartment. I just became a plant mom, so I have a bunch of plants all over, and I'm really excited about it. I hope I can keep them alive. I'm not totally sure, but
I tried to do the plant mom thing. We've got this guy back here
like that.
Yeah. And that's the extent of water.
That doesn't need a lot of water, I hear. You can probably keep that.
No, I haven't watered him for about a month, but he's still going strong.
Oh, nice.
I got one from Anna as well, and she says the best gig that you've been to.
That I performed at, or seen
I think she means like going to see someone else.
Yeah. Oh gosh. I saw Paul McCartney, and that was pretty changing. And Roger Waters. I went to Old Cella, they were calling it, the desert trip. which was just like a once in a lifetime experience because they had Bob Dylan and The Who and Paul McCartney and the Rolling Stones, and getting all those people together and all those artists. And it was just a couple years before the pandemic, and they kind of thought they would maybe try to get a group together like that again. But even with my family, we were kind of thinking like, okay, what would the next group be of like those kinds of artists? We could not imagine them putting together another group like that. So it was a really, really cool experience. I think Paul McCartney inspired my dad so much. He grew up on the Beatles, like wanting to get the bowl haircut, the whole thing.
Yeah.
And so then that impacted me a lot growing up, and my sister. We love the Beatles as well. So that had to be like the most iconic. But modern day, probably Sia, or like someone with just like a really like beautiful, touching voice.
And then I've got a final one from Scarlett, and she says, "Hi Madeline, love your music. Do you have any plans to come to the UK?"
My manager and best friend lives in the UK, so I'm coming.
Oh, good. Have you been before?
Soon. I would love to. I have. Yeah, I was there a couple years ago, just traveling with my sister. She's my best friend, so we went to Amsterdam and London and Barcelona. Just kind of went around Europe, but the UK is like definitely somewhere I could see myself even living, because my best friend lives there.
And I've got a little bit of a quick fire round for you as well.
Let's go.
Favorite song of 2021?
Oh my God, Essence, WizKid.
First album you fell in love with?
Every Kingdom, Ben Howard.
Who would you most like to collaborate with?
James Blake.
What's your karaoke song?
Lucky by Britney Spears.
Do you have any hidden talents?
I'm just trying to work on my handstand right now in yoga. And for some reason, it's very important to me. Like, I just really want to be able to do it.
Are there any artists we might not have heard of that you want to give a shout out to?
Yes, Gabrielle Current and Jay James.
I'll go and have a listen to them. And normally I ask, what do you order from Greggs? But I know that you don't have Greggs in America. Do you know what Greggs is?
No.
Oh, okay. So I'll explain it to you. So Greggs is like it's like a good value, like high street bakery chain in the UK. Like every town in the UK has at least one. They sell like sausage rolls, like pastries, sandwiches and stuff. So I normally get people to say like, what's their standard order? Do you have like an equivalent in America? Or
McDonald's? Okay, I'm just kidding. No, we don't have anything good like that. We need that.
Oh, you do. But when you come to the UK, you'll have to get one.
Definitely like breakfast burritos, because I'm living in San Diego right now. So breakfast burritos, like for sure, are the way to go. Other than that, like definitely, I don't know. I'm not really a pastry person so much, but I think it's because we don't have it. Like we don't have good pastries. So probably, I'm just kind of more of like a sausage egg McMuffin person.
It's a solid choice.
You know. Latte.
What are the best and worst parts of being a musician?
Best parts, music is such an amazing outlet. My favorite thing about being an artist, I am just an artist because I'm a songwriter. Like that, I am so passionate about songwriting. It is a gift to me to be able to just express how I feel. Like if I'm going through anything in my life, or even if I'm not, but just if I'm going through something in my life, it is like a tool for release. So best thing about being a musician, and just that music is like something that everybody loves. Like it's not a product that's hard to sell or whatever, you know, like everyone loves music. So I think that's just such a gift to be in that industry. And then worst things, probably trying to feel like you have to be anything other than yourself. Because I can't seem to do that. I'm just very like, I think especially because I'm spiritual and stuff, I'm just like, authenticity is just like so important to me. Like truth and just being who you are is so important that I just have to be myself. And luckily, like I am super into fashion, and like the way that I brand myself around like bright colors and the way that I express myself and the things I wear, that is like who I am so authentically. But I would never want to fall into not being that way, or just doing something I was uncomfortable with, or something that didn't feel authentic to me. So that's been difficult, I would say. That's just difficult about the industry in general, has been like building out who I am authentically. And it's easy, but when you hit certain like roadblocks, or you feel like you're supposed to shift something about yourself, it's hard not to fall into that and be like, oh, like I have to be who I am, you know?
Yeah. And what's one message you'd like to give to your fans?
Thank you so much if you listen to my music. I hope it connects with you. It's the most special thing in my life, like to have people be like, oh, this got me through something, or I love listening to this track. It's just so powerful. So thank you for listening. I appreciate it. Like, I feel like I almost can't wrap my head around it when people say things like that. I'm just like, wow, I'm so happy that you can have an experience with it as well. So thank you.
And would you like to request a song for me to play on the show?
Oh yeah, I think any song.
Any song, absolutely anything.
Okay, well then I would love to hear my favorite song from 2021. I think it's from 2021. It might have been from 2020. Essence by WizKid.
Absolutely, we'll get that on for you. And finally, would you like to just do a little plug and let people know where they can find you on socials and listen to your music?
Yeah, totally. My name is Madeline Louie. You can find me on Spotify, Apple, all streaming services. And my Instagram plug is madeline.louie. And Twitter, I believe, is Madeline Louie _. And I have a Facebook page for Madeline Louie as well.
Okay, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure to chat to you.
It's been so nice. I love your red guitar in the background too.
Oh, thank you. This is the bass.
Well, thanks for chatting.
All right, thank you so much. Speak to you later. Bye.